Hello, and thank you for joining us on 24 Plus. I'm Pepper Baker. There is a lot of attention on Tennessee's new congressional map now that the lines were redrawn and split Shelby County into 3 districts. That's 5, 8, and 9. District 9 is the only one of the 3 that does not have an incumbent running, so a new face will inevitably take the seat. One hopeful is at the table today. That's Republican candidate for the 9th Congressional District, Charlotte Bergmann. Charlotte, thank you so much for being here.
Pepper, I am so thankful that you reached out to me to invite me to join you. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's get into it a little bit. I know you're not new to running for congressional races, but my first question is usually always why now? So I guess I want to ask you, why does now seem different than other times?
A good question. Actually, people have reached out to me through the years, have asked me to represent them, have asked me to give them a reason to come out to vote because in a heavily Democratic congressional district, it was difficult for the Republicans to have a voice that they wanted to be able to vote for, and that was me. But in my mind, I always thought I was going to win, irrespective of what the opposition thought, irrespective of the perception that I would lose. I was determined to work with my team to get out there because I love Memphis, and Memphis is worth fighting for.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll talk about your campaign, but with that note, what do you think of the redistricting of Shelby County? Because to your point, Shelby County used to be District 9, and that 9 was always heavily, not always, but mostly Democratic, majority black district. So now that it is in 3, and, you know, a lot of talk around it being in favor of Republicans more so. What is your stance on redistricting? Is this good? Is this bad?
I think it's a godsend. I think it's an answer to a prayer for me and for many people in the district. You see, before, there were policies that were being implemented that were not benefiting the people. And now we have 3 separate congressional districts, and people have representatives in each district, which are primarily Republican. Here's the thing. Many of the people in the 9th district, which I have been talking to, approximately 18% of them have been African Americans, conservatives, who've just given up the desire to get out to vote. They didn't feel that their vote would be worth consideration. Now they have a reason to vote. And here's the other exciting thing. I have 3 additional competitors, opposition members. We have 14 new counties that we are visiting. Getting out into those counties, meeting the people in those counties, people who speak my language, they love God. And they don't make any bones about it. They love the United States. They love Tennessee. They love their families, and they're willing to work hard to make things better. That is not unlike many of the people in the Memphis area, and that encourages me. What we will be able to do, all 3 congressional members, we will have a seat at the table. We will have a seat at the table such that when there are decisions made to impact each congressional district, we will be able to say, my district wants and needs these particular things. And I can discuss with the majority leader, the speaker, about what needs to be done. I can submit and sponsor legislation to have those issues addressed. As a result of there being 9 congressional districts, there is a camaraderie. We're able to communicate and work together to make sure that we are looking out for each other's congressional districts. Let me tell you something. I want to ask the people in the audience, how have they looked at the 9th district and the 8th district in the past? And if you look at the difference, the 8th district, I don't know if they're getting extra money, but I'll tell you the money that could be coming here, wasn't coming here, and we are suffering as a result of it. Wow. I will be fighting for the people. Hey, I'm a lady who graduated with multiple degrees and still ended up homeless and living in my car in Memphis. And that motivated me to get into politics. Because of that, that is one thing I'm going to take to Washington, D.C. to fight for, that people get jobs and opportunities in Memphis. I'm a lady whose grandson was murdered on the streets of Memphis. And I feel that very strongly. I don't want people in the community whose children, whose loved ones have been murdered to receive that phone call that I did to say that your loved one has been murdered. I don't want that to happen. So therefore, I'm going to fight very hard to make sure that people are able to feel comfortable walking to the grocery store if they want to, going to the mailbox, spending time on their front porch or in their yards, going shopping. I want them to feel comfortable getting in and out of our communities safely.
Wow. Well, you segued right into the second question, which thank you for just that touching and candor in your first response.
Sorry about that.
No. I mean, I want, part of this is for viewers to understand more about who you are, the issues you're running on. But before we get into the campaign specifics, you have been a consistent candidate here in Shelby County. But for people who may not be familiar with you, I like to give the space to say who you are, what's your background, and what led you into politics.
What led me into politics was what I alluded to. I worked at FedEx for a number of years. I was a project manager there, had multiple degrees. The company went through a redistricting process, a restructuring process. And a number of us, over 200 of us were laid off. So I got a job in Nashville, paying 6 figures, but I missed home. I love Memphis. And I decided to come back home to look for work, and it just didn't happen. Even with my experience working in information technology, it just didn't happen. And you get to a point where you wait so long to get a job, because I received multiple interviews. Things went bad, and I wasn't able to get a job, and my home was foreclosed on. Oh, wow. And I kept calling Congressman Cohen's office, Bob Corker's office, Lamar Alexander's office, and various people for help. It didn't come. And so I ended up putting my furniture in storage and living in my car. That is a period of time in my life that really spoke to me. And so I began to go to Washington, D.C. That was during George W. Bush's administration. And I was appealing to them for more jobs in Memphis on my own dime. It was just that important to me. I was, at the time, awarded a 2003 Businesswoman of the Year award because they knew that I was business-minded. I was invited to join George W. Bush's President's Club as I was advocating for jobs, to be able to meet more people who would be influential. That started it. And then after he lost his terms ended in 2006, I got involved with the local Republican Party, and I've won Statesman of the Year award. I've served as a delegate for President Trump for 2 times, in 2016 and 2020. Going to Cleveland, Ohio. I was supposed to have gone to Orlando, Florida, but COVID hit and we weren't able to go. But that started my involvement in politics, with the idea the whole time that my purpose there was to fight for my community and to make sure that people in the community have opportunities, and more so my grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Wow. So let's get into a little bit more of that. Your experience, which clearly you have quite a lot, with politic involvement. So how will your experience play into your role as Congresswoman?
As I indicated, as a result of the 9 congressional districts here in Tennessee, with the camaraderie that we are developing, that we have developed, most of the members already know who I am, they know I'm a determined person. We will be able to work together. It's all about networking. It's all about knowing who to talk to. It's all about knowing where the offices are in Washington, D.C., where the Capitol building is, where the restrooms are. I'm past that. I know all of that. I've traveled many of times to Washington, D.C. I've gotten to know members. We will work together, understanding the process of getting bills passed, understanding the communication that is needed, and to fight for the people. That's an advantage that I have in that I will be able to fight for the people with help on the way.
I have a question. So you've been running since 2016.
2010.
2010, even longer.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think what is the reason for you to not be successful? Or why haven't you won?
Good question. Very good question. At the time that I was running, the district was D plus 22. That means 22% more Democrats were voting to elect Congressman Cohen. Now things have changed. That uphill battle that I had to overcome, it's an R plus 9 currently. But what has happened is each time I've run, and I have not had very much help, I've run my race at the grassroots level. I've gained significant name recognition. People know who I am. You may not know who I am, but a lot of people...
I mean, I've researched you.
A lot of people know who I am. And I'm like that mama. People know I love them. People know I care about them. People migrate to me. People show me respect. Mm-hmm. This is what's so amazing. You know, a lot of times you're involved with politics, people go, I don't like that person. And I do have some distractors, but I have more positive people. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see more hearts than you see negative statements. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. The distractors help me to hone my message, to be able to address those people who just don't get it, who are just as important in this community, because every voice counts.
Okay. So let's get into your issues. So we know that District 9 is now wide. There's a lot of counties, over 10 counties that you would be representing here. But first I want to take it locally. What can you promise Shelby Countyans or, the part of Memphis and Shelby County that District 9 is in? What can you promise them? How can they trust you with their vote?
I am one of them. I am a Shelby Countyan. I know the needs in the community. I know people want safety. I know people want better housing. I know people want their children to get that 21st century education such that they can be competitive to other countries who are training their children to be smart and to not be totally dependent. I want to encourage these young people to be prepared, to be better stewards in their community, and to be better contributors. Those are some of the main issues I'm concerned about. Safety, people being able to pay less for their gas. And the exciting thing is, if you notice, as a result of the negotiation with Iran and the president deciding not to bomb them tonight, the price of gas is going down. I tell you, this is a temporary delay. It's not going to last long, but once Iran, the issue has been addressed, you're going to see the price of gas going down quite a bit. You're going to see the price of food going down quite a bit. You're going to see and be involved in a community where it's affordable to live. And that's what people want. They want affordability, they want freedom, and they, believe it or not, they want pride in their community again. You weren't here, but we were the number one city in the state of Tennessee. We were so great, the number one city, we had a 1 on our license plate to show that we were number one. I want that to return. Because when people have an investment, when they have pride in where they live, they take care of it.
And so you will be representing not only urban Memphis, but rural counties all the way up into the suburbs of Nashville.
Brentwood and Franklin, yes.
So how do you plan to appeal to that wide-ranging type of demographic?
First of all, show up, talk to people, find out what their needs are. I've already been doing that. Whoa, my travel schedule has increased quite a bit since then.
I can only imagine.
But the best thing is I'm meeting wonderful people. These are great people in these communities that I'm meeting. This would not have been an opportunity for me had I remained just in Shelby County. And I'm venturing into areas where people are raising crop, raising cattle. They're feeding our state and feeding the nation. You know, a city girl myself, I used to think that the food came from the produce department and the meat department in the stores. It is great to meet people who are full of pride, who love this country, love America, love their families, and work hard from sunup to sundown to make sure that they get the products to market in order for us to be able to have food to eat. Great people, I'm telling you, it's encouraging. I can say, praise the Lord. And instead of people looking at me in bewilderment, they go, praise the Lord. That's encouraging to me.
Now, you did mention how you had made connections with former President George Bush as well as current President Donald Trump. But in the various ways that you know around Washington, and as a congresswoman, you would need to know that. But, you know, Congress holds the purse, right? So how would you secure funding to make sure that your District 9 gets what it needs? Like, what experience to get bipartisan support, to create legislation? How would you effectively do that?
There are certain bills that are scheduled on a regular basis to be passed. We will have an opportunity to provide input from our communities to be able to secure extra funding for various issues. For instance, right now, there is an act that the president has wanted the Senate to pass. They have resisted. Not in reconciliation bills, not in bills by itself. Now that we're about to fund our military bill, talking about putting it in that. And as a result, it will pass. And as a result, what's going to happen is we will see some changes in terms of election integrity and issues of that nature. So we're going to see some changes. Hopefully, if the bill passes, if there is not a delay, if people don't say, well, I'm not going to pass it, we're going to get some help and we're going to see a significant change at the polls during the general election as a result of this bill being placed in a military funding bill. So there is a way to get things done. It's just a matter of knowing how to get it done, how to get a bill written, how to get it sponsored, get co-sponsors, and as a result, as I said, the 8 other congressional members, we will work together hand in hand to make sure that these communities are better. And as I alluded to before, you gotta ask yourself this question. Why was the 8th district doing so much better than the 9th district? That was almost, not quite, but almost like comparing apples to apples. Who was getting the money to come to the 9th district to distribute it fairly or to distribute it to their friends and their buddies? And that is an issue, and it won't happen on my watch.
And when you're saying beforehand, are you alluding to the current congressman of District 9?
I certainly am.
Who did secure one of the largest transportation funding we've seen.
You know what our budget is? I mean, our budget consists of about, what, is it like $7 trillion, okay? And a measly $1 million out of that amount, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to what our needs are.
Have you created and actively gotten bipartisan support in your experience successfully on legislation?
Not on legislation yet, because I have not been elected, but I will tell you what I have done. I have gotten people to cross over and provide me with their support. There are approximately, I say, 20,000 Republicans which were able to vote in the 9th district, which was one consolidated area. Right. The last time I ran, I received 56,000 votes. So you tell me Was there a crossover or what?
Fair point.
Am I someone who is only concerned about one party of people or not? I am concerned about everybody, and I respect everybody that I meet because everybody is a child of God and worth my ear, paying attention to me. And I get phone calls all the time. And surprisingly, let me tell you what's so interesting. There are people that call me, and even with the bad publicity that is going out about our community, there are people calling me saying, I really love Memphis. I really do. We've got to change that narrative. We've got to help people to understand that we are number one, or we soon will be number one again, and we will be able to be prosperous, successful, and safe, and have a group of young people that are educated that will have a future to make this community even better.
You just reminded me there was a soundbite that we do have from your campaign announcement or an event you held over the weekend, talking about how you are the candidate that will kind of bridge everyone together. So let's take a listen to that really quickly.
I'm a woman of peace, and I want to make this community better because I am the unifying candidate. I am the candidate that is saying we are all important for Shelby County and the 9th District. We'll come together, we'll make this community better because we got children who need to be able to have the things that they need, cheaper food, cheap gas. They need the security to be able to walk down the streets safely. Older people need to be able to go to their mailboxes without getting shot. People want security and they want safety. I'm for that for Tennessee. I'm going to fight for Tennessee because it is my home. It is the home of my children and grandchildren, and I'm concerned about the people in the community, that this community is safe and healthy for them.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty profound. And so you feel confident in the way that you can appeal to both sides. And, we are seeing a bit of division right now. So just how do you think that you will be able to have that crossover, or people, especially in Shelby County, which has largely been Democratic?
As I spoke to you earlier, and the number of crossover votes that I received during this last election, but let me ask you this question. Envision the AOC of this world, the Hakeem Jeffries, the Justin Pearson, my competitor, standing in front of the Lorraine Motel, shouting racism, Jim Crow, all of those negative adjectives that they can place upon somebody, say if I don't win. They can't do that with me. I am the reconciliation candidate. I am the person who will bring both sides together because I've been around them, I understand them. I don't see color. I see people, I see values. I believe what Dr. Martin Luther King said, that he said one day, it's my dream that my children and grandchildren one day be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I guess I'm uniquely able to do that. And what makes me uniquely able to do that is not so much that I am so special. First of all, I have the Holy Spirit leading me, but secondarily, I was on the ballot on March the 10th when the certification was closed for the prior election for the consolidated 9th District. So as a result of still being in the district, I'm positioned such that I can be competitive and be the voice for the people, not just for the Republican, but for the Democrats too, and the independents. And let's just say I was at the right place at the right time, and I have a mission, and I'm going to accomplish that mission, not for myself, but for the people in this great city and state. It's a new day in Tennessee. I'm excited about Tennessee.
You did mention Justin Pearson, who's on the Democratic side for the 9th Congressional District. On the Republican side, there is Brent Taylor as well, who seems, from a lot of talk, to be a front runner, if you will. He's gotten a lot of endorsements. Senator Marsha Blackburn is one of them. How do you feel about going up against Brent Taylor, or what sets you apart from him?
Well, I do have significant name recognition. Brent does too. Brent also have a number of distractors. And I'll just say this. August the 7th, we will know who the majority of the people will choose to represent them. But I pity Memphis and the Republican Party and the 9th District if they choose Brent Taylor, because Justin Pearson's going to eat his lunch.
Okay, I see what you did there. I like the way you put that. We've talked a lot on our political commentary show about whether or not the redistricting was about partisan or race, and the Supreme Court's decision to that congressional districts cannot be redrawn based on the basis of race. Whereas we've had some commentators say they are doing it based off of race, given that they split up District 9, which was Tennessee's only majority black district. So, what do you have to say? Is it partisan, or did race factor into this?
That's an interesting question. I think the Supreme Court allowed us to go back to the original intent of the Constitution. The 14th Amendment, as well as the 15th Amendment. The 14th Amendment basically says pretty much we're all equal, and there should be no special privileges for one group or another, to paraphrase. Mm-hmm. But the 15th Amendment basically says that there is really no reason to vote on the basis of race. So the 1964 Voting Rights Act was implemented. It was necessary at that time. And up until 1968, prior to that, when my people, when blacks would go to vote, there would be poll tests. There would be all types of tests. Some people would have been murdered to have the opportunity to vote. 2016, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. That is not the case. Systemically, the government was involved prior to 1968. Racism now is based upon individual differences. It makes a big difference when government puts their thumbs on the backs of the issues on the promotion or lack thereof of voting. We don't have the same situation. So therefore, I am black. Mr. Cohen was not black. He was never black. But I am black. Now, he did say he wanted to be identified as a 45-year-old black woman, but that's not possible. I mean, come on. We aren't stupid, okay? I can't identify as a 45-year-old black woman either. I'm older than that, but I'm still a black woman.
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So with that point, though, any thoughts, or just how would you address, if it's not racial, and you are a black woman running as a Republican, and you have been running as a Republican for a while, how do you feel about prominent Republicans then getting behind Brent Taylor and not getting behind you?
They have a right to do that. But this community, 38% approximately of this community are still in Shelby County. The voters, 38% of the voters are still in Shelby County. Fortunately, they've left a large part of the community whereby people know who I am in the district. So I still have some significant name recognitions, and to be quite frank with you, I've spoken to too many people over and over again who are angry about the Johnny-come-lately. They are angry about the people who found out that the redistricting was going to occur before it actually happened, and they jumped in the race when it was safe. Because where were they before the redistricting occurred? Where were they?
That's a good point.
That's a good point. I agree with you.
So let's talk about Congress again, and I wanted to touch on this before. So there's three big things that happened recently within Congress, big issues. The first one I want to talk about is government shutdown. So the 2025 government shutdown was one of the longest in history. The longer one was in 2019. This one lasted 35 days in 2025. There were 2 shutdowns in 2026. And a lot of this had to do with disagreements in Congress. So, where do you stand on making sure, or how would you have handled that as a congresswoman differently? Or what is your perspective to make sure that federal workers are getting paid and that the funding packages are being approved and sent out as needed? Because there's a lot of people who rely on this. So how do you think that was handled, and how would you do it differently as Congresswoman?
I was not happy about the way that it was handled. You had a minority group of legislators who decided to use their power to stop progress. I would be one vote, but I would be able to influence a number of people, so I will have an opportunity to do that. The mere fact that people were encouraged to vote against the bills being passed, to use their power, what little power they had, to hold up progress, to have our workers, TSA workers, not being able to get paid, to have various other groups of people to not get paid. I thought that was deplorable. I was not happy about that. I think that when people know to do what's right, but when power is the most important thing, they resort to obstruction. And that's what happened. There was a lot of unnecessary obstruction. They're just now getting the DHS package passed. There was no reason to hold off on passing that. These are people that go out to work every day who have families. As a congressional member, you got to forget about self, and you got to forget about power, and you got to be concerned about the people whose jobs are needed to take care of their family, who need their money to pay their bills, who shouldn't have to live in their cars, sleep in their cars to be able to get to work, who can't afford gas. That was totally deplorable and unnecessary. But when you don't have policy that is constructive, you resort to obstruction.
And one of those parts had to do with the Affordable Care Act, which goes right into health care. And there was quite a lot of finger pointing between Republicans and Democrats wanting to hold off and so that people didn't lose their access. How would you kind of come up with a way to make sure that Americans are covered?
In terms of coverage, the American Care Act, if you think that they provided health, then I think you're looking at the wrong situation. I think people needed health savings accounts. People needed ways to be able to pay for their office visits, for their surgery, and not have to be forced to pay an insurance company. And so you have to think wisely. You have to make wise decisions, and you have to make decisions not based upon popularity, but what's best for the people. If you ask people now, are they hurt as a result of the American Care Act not being passed? There are some that are, but there are some who have found other ways to receive the health care that they need.
Do you think it's a broken system that needs restructuring?
Yes, and we need few politicians who are politicians, and we need public servants who are going to work for the people.
Couple questions more on Congress specific things. Congressman Cohen has been very vocal about impeachment efforts for Trump, and that was why he wanted to, one of the main reasons why he wanted to rerun again before he bowed out, was to finish these 2 years out, trying to see that through. Where would you, and Brent Taylor has come on here and said that he would serve as impeachment insurance to keep Trump from that, to keep that from happening. So, obviously you're a Republican. I probably could, it's probably obvious of where you stand, but how do you feel about those efforts, and what would you do in that?
Well, I think that's a moot point at this point. He's not going back to Congress. His last day is January the 3rd, so therefore, why beat a dead horse?
So you support and stand by obviously against those efforts. You would full steam ahead.
If he, what justification does he have for his statement other than to do what he and Al Green and various other people did? And look where they are. They're right along with Cohen. So I'm sure that that won't be an issue in this next Congress.
Okay. Last question that on Congress issues, which you already mentioned, the war in Iran. And there was some back and forth between the Trump administration and Congress and decisions being made around the war and paying for it. As a Congresswoman, again, do you feel, just from your perspective of how that relationship was handled, do you think that there was a respect level between the two, or just how would you go about being a Congresswoman when it comes to war decisions?
Well, first of all, we have to identify the problem. The original problem was Iran should never get their hands on a nuclear weapon to intimidate their neighbors. Secondly, I'm concerned. I have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I don't want them to go to a foreign shore and die. We had, unfortunately, some people to die. But compared to prior wars, the numbers, they don't stack up. There were air wars that were conducted. There were Iran's naval ships are under the water. The Air Force is not there any longer. Their leaders are not there. They do have a legitimate leader. And finally, especially after the recent bombing over the weekend between Israel and Iran and Hezbollah and the United States and President Trump doing what he does best, the art of the deal, intimidating them. They're ready to come to the table. If not tonight, if not tomorrow, they will be coming to the table soon. They don't have anything to negotiate with. So I hate to go and fill my tank up and the gas is high. But it's a sacrifice that I'm having to make. And even in prior wars, people made sacrifices to win the wars. So what we have here is a situation whereby the war in Iran is going on. It will be over soon. The Straits of Hormuz will be open soon. But ultimately, the big picture is this. China was getting their oil from Venezuela and from Iran. And as a result of China not getting their oil from them, they were beginning to get their oil from Alaska, from the United States. What that does is tell our manufacturers, our businesses in China, you can stay there and pay the higher costs, the fees, or you can come home. And I think ultimately, the bigger picture, I know I see the look in your eyes.
No, I'm following along. I'm here with you.
The bigger picture is we want our manufacturers to come back on U.S. soil, but we've got to have some leverage to get them back. And so people have been able to stay in China to do business because of the lower cost of manufacturing or doing what they needed to do. They can come home and do it. And they can come home and get cheaper oil and cheaper energy and do it right here and help the people in the United States. America is who we're concerned about, who we want to be great, who we want to be prosperous, who we want the farmers and the renters and the various people in those other 13 districts to feel the effects of prosperity in their community. Prosperity in Shelby County, the 9th District. This is what's going to make it happen. We were about to lose our country, but things are turning around. Price of gas will go down. The price of manufacturing on the shores of on the shores of the United States or in the United States, it will be cheaper. And this will be a better place to live.
I think a lot of people want to hear that. So
it will be.
Yes.
Trust me.
So we are running into time. Just the last question I'd like to ask you is just anything that you just want your voters to know about you, about what they need to do between now and August 6th, which is the primary for the congressional districts, namely 9. So just take this time to kind of talk to your constituents and everything you want them to know.
All right, Pepper, thank you for, first of all, inviting me to join you. I talked about a lot of things. You are a good interviewer. You pulled stuff out of me I didn't expect to say, but I would like for people to know who I am, and you can find out more about me on my website at bergmanforcongress.com. That's Bergman with 2 N's, for Congress.com. I have rack cards. I want people to reach me and call me because I want to hear from the constituents. That's how I can get my job done, by talking to the constituents. So my phone number is on my rack card, so you can call me, okay? I want to be there with you because I want to see this community being the best community, better than the 5th district and the 7th district, the 9th district. And I certainly am going to fight for each and every one, especially when you let me know what your needs and your concerns are. I'm not in this for me, but I am in it for my children, my grandchildren, the people that they interact with, and the people in Memphis in the 9th district.
Okay.
And
yes.
Last thing I want to say.
Go ahead.
Make sure when you vote, in order to vote for me, you just can't walk in and do what you normally do. This is an unusual election. It is not a normal election. You have got to be willing to say, I want a Republican ballot. That's the only way you can vote for me. And if you don't ask for a Republican ballot, you will get one of my 3 opponents. And then people will say, aha, this is what we didn't want. We did not want 3 white guys leading us. We want black representation, and Ms. Bergmann is our black representation. I receive phone calls concerning that issue over and over again from people.
Okay. Well, you definitely made a good case today. Thank you for the time. I know it's going to be a busy, less than 2 months until August 6th, so you've got a lot ahead of you, but we appreciate you coming in. Please follow ABC 24 for all the political coverage as we head to the August 6th primary and then general election in November, but thank you for watching.